Well, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and get started on on today's meeting. And we have a pretty full agenda today. And we do have some visitors here today, but public is always welcome to our meeting. And so I think since we do have some new people, we might as well just go around the room quickly and just introduce ourselves. So I'll start. My name is Tom Boland. I'm the chair of the Wilmington Tree Commission, and been that for about a year and a half. And I don't live in the city limits. I live outside the city limits, but yet at the same time, I really enjoy coming down and being part of the city of Wilmington, and really focusing on preservation of the Wilmington tree canopy. So, other than that, we'll go this way. Andrew.
Sure. Morning, everyone. Andrew Blank. I'm a commissioner. I've been on the commission for 6 months or so now, a little bit more. I work in public health in my day job, but really enjoy the work that we do here. I think it's so important for justice reasons, for climate reasons, for so many things, for recreation. So yeah, honored to work alongside you all.
Robin Gregory, I'm just a citizen here to learn how we can apply some of the great things this group is doing outside of city limits, but within this county.
Sally.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Sally Thigpen. I'm the Assistant Director of the Parks and Recreation Department, and also have a background in urban forestry, and the tree section is one of my areas. So glad to be part of this, and really appreciate all the work that the Wilmington Tree Commission does to preserving the urban canopy.
I'm Haley Hopkins. I'm the city's environmental planner and the secretary for the.
Jim Gregory. I am retired from the Department of Forestry in NC State, where this lady got her degree some years ago. This is my last meeting after 6 years of service on the Tree Commission. However, there is a project that I would like to continue to work with, and that's the tree ordinance issue.
Jed Watkins, here with Jim last meeting after double stint, retiring, I guess.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Merrick Farmer. I'm a citizen of the city and just interested in what the commission does, and I have a particular interest in the 415th from Market Street.
I'm Bridget Callahan. I'm the new member of the commission. This is my first meeting. I have a really strong background in working with nonprofits and marketing, and I also just have a personal hobby of tree tourism and have been really into just going around and photographing, heritage trees around the country. So this is kind of my first step to be like, all right, I want to learn some stuff. I want to contribute to my community, and I think I have some skills that could help out here. So nice to meet you guys.
Haley, Dan's saying you can't hear us. Can you turn up the volume?
I mean, I can't turn up their volume.
So Dan, you can't hear us at all. It's just really quiet.
No, my volume's all the way up. I'm just in it's kind of a loud environment today, and I'm having trouble hearing some of the people as we go around the table, but I can hear some stuff.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Right. Well, Dan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Dan Camacho. I'm the executive director for the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees, and we're the nonprofit that protects, preserves, and plants trees in the lower Cape Fear region. We grew out of the Wilmington Tree Commission, and we work closely with the city of Wilmington to plant and give away trees.
Alana.
Hi, Alana Seaman. I'm a professor in tourism, rec, and sport at UNCW, and I've been on this for a little while. Hope to be a little more helpful now that it's summer.
Thank you. Kathy?
I'm Kathy
Luna. My background is in advertising and I've been on this board, I think for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And I live in Carolina Place and I am close to downtown where we're having lots of things going on with trees right now.
Yes. All right, so order of business, next is to review the meeting notes from last time. Does anybody have any questions on the meeting notes from last time? No questions. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, so any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Minutes have been approved. All right, so like we said last time, we had a good presentation on heritage trees, and a lot of people were very enthusiastic about the heritage trees that we presented at the Wilmington Tree Commission. Heard some good feedback. There's some additional action items from that meeting. So I know one, Haley, did you get any feedback from them on the feedback from the commission as far as what days would work or not?
I heard back from you and Alana, but neither of those days worked for the residents, so you would have to try again.
Okay, all right, so we gotta try again. So, so a couple of things we need to do is remeasure 1 or 2 trees. And then also, there's a couple new heritage tree applications that we have that we also have to measure. So that's the action items from that. All right, so the next, as a result of our strategic planning that we've done about a year ago, 1.5 years ago, we came out with 3 focused areas. And the first one is tree ordinance and enforcement, which I'll turn over to Jim, and because that's an area that.
Yeah. What I've sort of got in mind, if we could form a small subcommittee, and I'll be willing to head that, say with 1 additional member from the tree commission and Dan and maybe someone else from ACMT. Because I think we need to do 2 things, and that's suggest some revisions to the code itself. Because the term vacant lot is not mentioned, yet I've been told a number of times that vacant lots are subject to the tree ordinance. HOA common area is not mentioned, yet HOA common area, and I'm familiar with several HOAs who are facing big fines that they can't pay because they didn't know they were subject. So I think there are 2 things. One is suggesting some revisions to the ordinance, and the biggest issue is the title. It's called land development code. And so everyone who received that title, if they're not involved in land development, they present that that's apply. And then some kind of educational approach. So that all those folks who get calls can't say they don't know.
No, I agree with you. I agree with that, and you know, be more than happy to help or assist or have someone else out here help and assist, so that we can definitely increase the public awareness of what is out there for protection of trees, and then what also needs to change to help protect the trees. So yes.
And what's the process of suggesting revisions to the code?
Yeah, so you could, you probably work with me since I'm right here. And then
That's
we'll
what I
take
presume, yeah.
it to our department, we'll discuss then what that looks like. We'll work with you to make up some new language, and then we'll make a presentation for planning commission. And they will review it.
I'm new,
Yep.
but I would like to add to that because I think this would be beneficial. One of the reasons why I'm here is the land use development is by the state who is sanctioned for enforcing all of these laws. They're the ones that can do the no work orders, all the things for what I'm saying. The problem is if you do it just for Wilmington, then that also would have to be a separate thing for the county, so Wilmington could be divisible by two, even though the state says that anybody on the land and development can do it. Is there a way, if you start looking at something new, that you could incorporate, because all the statutes, the general statutes, assembly statutes say that we have the right to do that as the land and use department, not just the city, to incorporate it under one umbrella to have an enforcement, so that the rest of the city, for instance, what I'm referring to is like the Ogden area that has so rapidly grown and it's not being watched at all. Just a thought.
It would only include the city limits, the
Yeah,
county. would be a
What we're
separate
talking about
process. We have two
is only,
separate
is only the
things.
city limits, but Connie Parker and Bill Jane and I participated in providing some suggestions to the county a couple of years ago when county ordinances were updated. But the tree protection, the tree protection of the county is not. I hate to say as good as it is, sometimes because tree protection women is not very good either. But yeah, if you'd like to join our committee, by all means, speak to me after this meeting is over.
No, anybody else have any questions on that? Kathy, Lana? Okay. Dan, any questions? If you could hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry. Advocacy is one of the things that at least we're working toward getting toward, at least I am personally. It's sort of the last piece that I've been trying to focus on. And so we've reformed the advocacy committee with the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees. Jim is a member, as you mentioned before. Bill is also a member. So I'll talk to Jim and we'll figure out how we can best coordinate with the tree commission in examining all the issues that everybody's brought up.
Good. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for your help and support. All right, so next item on the list is part of the strategic plan is resource commitment. And you know, one of the things I just wanted to do was look at the urban forest master plan, and which was created last year. And you know, there's a lot of recommendations here, and you know, one thing that we did find out in talking with Aaron is that the city does have a analysis of the tree canopy for all of the city of Wilmington, not just the 44, 45 area that this urban forest master plan was based on. So I was thinking that in one of our upcoming meetings, we can have the city come in and provide us with that information. And Haley, do you know who that would be, or?
I'm prepared to provide it today.
Oh, you are?
If-
Oh, fantastic.
To or. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Do you have a file?
Yes, I have it on my.
Is this alive?
No, that's not mine.
Okay. All right.
I can grab mine, so you can sit here and. have-
Yeah, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm just gonna put this. So I have some images that I can share with you, which is what I was hoping to put up here. Actually. Let me start with this one. Nope. So. I should make this just a little bit smaller.
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to kind of make it a little smaller, but I don't really want to do that. So, our GIS team developed this land cover map and, it was the most recent data we had at the time, because we did it internally. Actually, even if we had the consultant assist with us, it's a very manual process and takes a long time. So, they were using the 2016 data, which was a land cover analysis done through a green infrastructure study that the city had conducted with a consultant. And it was using the USDA imagery, they call it NAPE. It's the National Agriculture Imagery Program. And so the USDA flies photo imagery during the growing season. So this is leaf on data that allows us to measure canopy cover. So they had the 2016 data, and then there's 2020 data. So that's how the comparison was done. So in this map, they're showing all of the different cover types. So tree canopy, impervious, pervious, bare earth, water, wetland. And the analysis revealed 41% canopy cover in 2020, about 5% bare earth, 30% impervious, and around 23% pervious. So that's kind of the snapshot of the canopy cover.
So,
Does anybody have any questions before I tell you the change?
so bare earth, all the colors look almost the same. So, except for the roadway. So bare earth is brown, I guess, or dark brown.
Correct. Very little of that. Oh, that's a good point. We can probably do that. It does, I mean,
Gotcha.
it does get, I think that might be the furthest extent.
That's fine.
So using this information in the urban forest master plan, our consultant, Davey Tree experts, did do an analysis, and starting on page 26, I do encourage you to go and just kind of look over it. And then it talks about this imagery. So in 2016, it was 48% canopy cover from that data, and then a reduction to 41% in 2020. And then they part of their assessment, causes for Wilmington's canopy loss include Hurricane Florence, development activities, natural mortality of large mature trees. So those were the main reasons for that reduction.
So do they have any? As far as, do they have any breakout between development, Florence or not? Or?
That's a good question. No, that was not identified as one of the criteria. I think it's possible, but I think it'd be challenging to get to those exact numbers.
Right. I'm just wondering, how much, and then how much was development versus Florence, and then eventually the other. What was the other?
The mature, losing
mature.
mature canopy. They also provided an analysis across the region. So they looked at Annapolis, Maryland, Atlanta, Georgia, Baltimore, Charleston, Charlotte, Norfolk, Savannah. And this, I don't have this up, but it's pretty interesting. We actually are doing well considering those other cities. So we're right in there. The Charleston has 60% canopy cover, really the highest by far, but all the rest are in the averaging around 40%, with Baltimore in around 27%. Norfolk is at 28%. So Savannah is 44%. So we've got a little bit less now canopy cover than they do, but in that same range. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No question.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I've got a couple of problems.
I don't mean to derail what you're saying, but do we know why Charleston has 60? I'm surprised by the design.
I'm not surprised at all. So I've listened to Tony work there. They have had a city government for decades and decades and decades who care about the trees. Here,
They just have to-
that's the bottom line.
Okay.
It's on the website. Yeah, wilmingtonnc.gov. Mhm.
It's called Urban Forest Master.
So let me show you this other map. So there's lots of ways that you can visualize this data, and it's something that we're continuing to improve. But the way that this particular change comparison is shown is with these two colors. So the green is no change and the red is change. So you can see sort of these impacts
Lights.
here in the red, and you can zoom as well. And really what, we as urban foresters are trying to do is, just better focus our efforts based on this data analysis for where we should focus tree maintenance, planting, education. And that's where I'm really grateful that the City of Wilmington has Wilmington Tree Commission and the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees. I feel like we're a three-legged stool that, is really promoting the benefits of the urban forest, continuing to monitor and have awareness around where we're losing canopy, and continuing to plant trees so that we can sustain it over time. So, does anybody have any questions?
So if this map is, green is like constant, red is change, is all of that changes lots, or are there any areas of growth in their canopy between those two surveys?
Oh. That is a great question. I don't think I can answer it. So can we show change where there's increase in canopy?
Yeah, keep in mind, it's just 4 years, so
Sure.
we're visualizing a tree
Easier
here
to
in
cut
4
down
years
the tree than to grow.
versus.
But that's a tremendous amount of loss for it.
Yeah.
We're all acutely aware of. The data that from which this comes is satellite data. And its accuracy depends on ground truth, which I'm sure there's none of us have been that, but it's still useful data, particularly these change comparisons.
But I guess in general, it's been all loss and no gain in the canopy, is what we're saying. In that 4 year
Well,
period.
yeah, certainly the benefit, we're continuing a net loss every year.
Absolutely, but are there areas, localized areas of growth at all, even if we're at a net loss?
Well, there's been a lot of planting, but young trees don't show up in this. Young trees in what was originally an open area are still showing. Kind of thing.
Okay,
Yeah, it takes what, 5 to 10 years to show on the canopy?
Probably, I don't know, I'd say at least 10 for a tree to get big enough to.
So stuff we planted over the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Land use land cover data from satellite data.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term pixel,
Yeah.
but pixel, sure. The young man down in the corner is a unit. That the sensor classified. And, the best data nowadays is pixel size of a meter or less. So hopefully that's what this data is. So if you get a tree where the canopy is covering 3 to 4 pixels, then it is going to get classified as a forest. Pixel.
So given the last map that you had up there, what are the areas that are focused or based on?
First focus for planting or planting?
Planting, yeah.
So,
So what ACFT has done is concentrating actual planting on the plaza, roadside, street trees, and then giving away trees for individuals to plant.
There's not like specific neighborhoods that like the
Well,
Alliance is trying to.
ACFT has been focusing on the south side, and north side, low income neighborhoods. Yeah. But of course, the tree distributions, those go to anybody that sells them. And we don't really know how many of those, so how many thousand trees have we given away, Tam? We don't really know how many of those have been properly cared for and survived.
Yeah.
Be nice to know, we had some idea of that.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to chase down this question, my recommendation would be to get with somebody at UNCW that does a little bit of GIS work and maybe overlay with coastal land trust. And put a percentage of land under easement. Because that's gonna be the best metric of long-term protection. You know, there's nothing to stop people from cutting a tree, replacing a tree, cutting a tree, replacing a tree in perpetuity, but if you wanted to see, hey, we lost almost 5% of our total tree cover in 4 years. And at that clip, in the next 4 years, it's not a fair metric, but by that logic, you'd have 0% tree cover homes in 40 years, 41 years. So the offset for that, beyond giving individuals trees and some grants for that, and then what we hear from Aaron every meeting, I'm understaffed, can't plant trees fast enough. I'm understaffed, been here for 6 years, I can't plant trees fast enough, is what are these other non-government agencies, non-profits doing to preserve in perpetuity with an actual legal easement in place on that, and it says you can't develop that. It's not, and some of them aren't specific to you can't touch trees. Could be a farm. There's very little farms left in the city limits, so.
That's it.
All right, Sally, thanks for the presentation. So another recommendation was to inventory all public trees. Is that, again, I know that takes a lot of time and effort and so on and so forth, but I didn't know if there was any potential plans to do that.
So we did submit the tree inventory as a potential budget enhancement this year. It did not make the list for the FY25 budget, which has been pretty challenging for the city. We do have a grant that we think we are eligible for, so I'll be working on that this fall. But yeah, absolutely, it'll be a continued request because if we don't understand what our asset is, it makes it difficult for us to manage it. So completing that inventory is, as you can see, the top recommendation coming out of master plan.
And then just, is there a strategic document for, what Wilmington is focusing on trees besides, you know, the urban forest master plan? I mean, obviously there's, there has to be a management program to show, you know, what are our priorities within Wilmington.
That's a good question, Tom. I think what we are all hoping to see is some real action coming out of that plan. Our team has an internal document that has long-term and short-term goals, things that we think we can actually achieve. It's not something that I think we're ready to like put on the website at this point, but it's a very fair question. And I think for the items that we can make actionable, like improving our like maintenance practices and the do not plant list and some things like that to help people better understand which trees are appropriate in the community. Those are some short-term things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the other thing as a result of what's happened over the past couple of weeks, just, you know, one thing would be is, what is our strategy as far as, removal and replace? I mean, do we do it all at once, which then creates, you know, a massive amount of, tree canopy loss? Versus do we stage it so that we also be able to then create, you know, we maintain canopy, but yet also we create canopy. So, I mean, you know, that would be something that just be interesting to see how I know from an economic perspective, it's a lot cheaper to do it all at once. But yet at the same time, from you know, there has to be some sort of cost benefit of looking at it from an economic, environmental, and, you know, just that sort of thing to determine whether or not we should be staging And not waiting 10 years to do something that we should have been doing over those 10 years, and doing it in a staged manner. Where we could have, done it 10 years ago, and we have a 10-year-old tree, which is a lot better than, what we have now of removing all those trees and then having little sticks in the ground for another 10 years, so.
They grow, but
Yeah, so, I don't know, this most recent such project that sort of brought that up, that just said, hey, is there some way that we could look at it differently? And I'm not saying that what you should be doing, just saying, how in the future, let's learn from what we have now to be able to determine how to better manage what we have.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, okay, great. I've got some earbuds in. I can hear a little better now. The reason I had my video off is because I was holding my ear up to the screen before. So the audio is still challenging for me. But along those lines, we and I don't think we've talked about it yet, but the Market Street sort of press event. I got a lot of feedback since then about what was going on and what I said in those interviews. And the big question that I keep getting, which I don't have an answer to, is what is the plan for replacing those trees? And I know that we said, yes, we're going to replace them with live oaks, but that's a very shallow answer. Some people ask me, well, how are you going to avoid having to take, more of these trees out in bunches and, decimate the canopy? And, I guess it's sort of urban forestry 101 that you have sort of a succession plan, so everything doesn't mature at once. And, some of the questions I was getting, well, more of these trees are going to be coming out in the next 10 years. Why aren't we planting new trees between those mature trees, so that when those mature trees come out, we have a semi-mature tree sort of farther along in terms of replacing it. So, behind us in those interviews the other day, there was, I believe, like a 10-year-old live oak that we could see. And, if we're planning on taking out more oaks, it's inevitable, I guess, in the next 10 years. Why aren't we planting smaller live oaks now in between those trees so that they will be 10 years old when those other trees come out? And I know there's all sorts of issues with, planting in the shade and, with those young trees being successful, but people are asking me that question and I don't have an answer to give them. And I think it would be very useful in terms of making the argument that these trees need to come out, that we can point to the whole plan that we're working on, or that the city's working on. And, hopefully, the city could be more forthcoming and sharing with us that greater overall plan if it exists. Does that make sense?
Yep, understood.
So-
here.
I don't have anything formal that I'll just respond to that in general. I don't have anything formal that I can provide today. But I, make very valid points. We do have a tree replacement plan. We have funding to replace those trees. In terms of live oaks, Aaron, our city arborist, was specific to that section on Market Street where we had made a commitment to council at one time, and I think the citizens of the area, because they wanted to see live oaks there specifically. Species diversity is key in this case, and so while we might have a block or two where we're replacing with live oaks, it's certainly not going to be what we focus on across the city, although they're an iconic Wilmington southern tree. So that is certainly one we want to plant in the area because they are really hardy and long-lived, as you know. So I think having that species diversity will also help with the staging question. Trees of different species are going to grow at different rates, have different lifespans. So I think there's some aspect of longevity that might be built in there. And interplanting, quite frankly, we are challenged to keep up with tree replacement planting. So yes, interplanting is absolutely something we aspire to do, but, probably not something we're actively, doing. That's just where we are right now. So
I would like-
to answer any more questions.
Yeah, I would like to add something. What we've done as an overall compassing thing, city, tree commission, take a pick, is a poorly explaining the lifespans of these trees. I understand that we can't do interplanting because these trees are not meant to grow where they are anyway. With the street there, their roots have been destroyed. It makes it very hard for them. So to interplant in between the trees is not possible. There's no room for roots or things to grow. And by the time you take down that tree next to it, because they're planted so close, you're going to destroy the roots of the other tree. So I get that, but people don't understand that if we don't explain it to them. And that is what has happened right now. I can tell you from the people in my neighborhood. They don't understand the difference in between a laurel oak and a live oak and how it dies and how it goes through its process. They don't understand that these trees in an urban environment, which they are along Market Street, is not successful for them. So how we go about putting them back in makes a difference. And I agree, we should have been working on this all along, but that's not where we are. It's about safety of the cars that are driving through right now, and then how we move forward to make sure that we're not taking down as many trees as we are right now. But we're not educating the public. And that's our problem. And it's how do we educate them in the simplest manner that they understand what we understand from working on this for as long as we have. Because when I can sit down and talk to somebody one-on-one and go, okay, look, here's the deal. This is what's going on. And, you got to think about this, and they get it. But we don't have the opportunity to sit down with everybody one-on-one. So how do we get that story across in the 2-minute segment that they're going to put on ECT?
Another issue very important to me and to a lot of my friends who have been bombarding me with questions about this project is that when Aaron is asked what species are going to be planted, he says species appropriate to the site. That is not acceptable. It just isn't. We need a list of trees that if you've got a list, and of course, in my case, I would like that not to include any non-native species. But there are several non-native species that are much better adapted to these plaza locations than just about anything except live oak.
Well, that's what we have to explain. That's what it's education. And that's what it comes down to. I think that if they understood more about the area that you're planning, that road came in after those trees were already there. So it shortened their lives. They're not safe now. So it's not appropriate to plant back the same thing. And what can we plant back that's still going to give the same look, but maybe, be better for the area? You're correct. I mean, there are trees that will survive in that area, and not everything that, is native will necessarily work in that particular spot. And that seems to be everybody's upset right now.
So I thought the city did a pretty good job of preparing that video and preparing that document that explained why the trees were coming out. I think maybe we should spend as much thought and effort on explaining the replacement plan for it too. Like what's going to happen, kind of like along the lines of what you're saying, Kathy. It's sort of the second half of the book. Okay, yes, they have to come out. There's a good reason for it. But here's our plan to sort of get it back to something close to what it was, and even if it can't be what it was, because like we said, those trees were established before automobiles or just at the advent of automobiles when that was a dirt road. At least people sort of understand that we're making a good best effort to get it back to where it was, and that maybe it can't be back to where it was. But like Jim said, the sort of vague answers about species appropriate and, the vague answers about the replanting plan. And like Sally's, I don't mean to sound like I'm attacking the city or anything, but, being more specific on that, I think will save a lot of outcry. And the outcry is, it is distracting to everybody that's working on trees. The city it's certainly distracting to my organization because I spend a lot of time trying to explain it when I don't really understand the answer to it. And so, I've said this to Sally and I've said it to Aaron. The more that you include us in the plans, the more that we can sort of help communicate what we need to communicate, and hopefully kind of help the public understand, so we don't spend so much resources kind of calm everybody down.
I agree with Dan, but I think our biggest thing that we've got to have is beyond having a massive, paper or whatever you want to call it that explains everything. You got to have a 2-minute elevator speech that is simple, that we can get across on ECT, WWAY, because that's where most of the people are going to get their information. So they're not going to sit down and read the plans or the tree commission's stuff or the city's arbor. They're not going to read all that. So how in 2 minutes or less can we explain to people exactly what they want to know? We now know the points that they want. Let's give them that so you can calm people down.
I agree with that, but I do think you need to have the larger document, because after you give an elevator speech, they're going to they might ask me some questions, right, some detailed questions. And if I have that sort of more fleshed out document, I'm prepared to answer them. So I agree with you. I think it needs to be both. We need to have both of those answers.
So, I mean, if you go to the city website, they have a lot of information about the project. I mean, Sally did a YouTube video on it, and then there was also a lot of detailed explanation, but it was just about removing the trees. It wasn't talking about what are you doing going forward. So, but as far as why we're removing it, I think the city did a fairly good job on explaining that. It's just, going forward that everybody wants to get a better understanding.
Sally, one additional suggestion for a planting plan, and that's site preparation. Because you want to just plop on a tree down into that compacted awful stuff that exists between the sidewalk and the street. It's starting out behind the 8 ball. So anyway, you do understand that. Very good.
I'll speak as just the average citizen who cared enough to come to this meeting and see it, that I get outraged. Well, I think if you're a native of Wilmington, like I am, born and raised, you can easily say, we diseased these trees faster than they needed to be because we allowed too much overdevelopment near them. We burnt them up, basically, is what happened. But I can also say that how are you going to do something for this root system for a whole town that's underwater to give it filtration and to stop us from flooding, when these mature trees will soak up 650 gallons of water when they're gone and you stick a stick up? What's going to protect our homes from flooding? I think, in all honesty, that's probably where more of the outrage, because I think I've seen all of the things and think it's been a great job explaining. We all know now they're diseased, and yes, they have to come up now. But why wasn't it called ahead enough? If it was called far enough in advance, you could have staggered like you suggest, a lot less uproar. What's going to prevent it from happening again? I think that's what people are concerned about. Is this what we're due to for the rest of it? We're residents of Wilmington.
Well, from my standpoint, and having been involved with urban forestry since I moved here in 2011, the city has made tremendous strides in the last 5 years.
Absolutely.
Really have.
But that's the thing that I'm just saying for the general public, that's not what they see.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
see
well,
what their beloved iconic trees all coming down.
but based on conversations I've had with a lot of friends, they complained without doing any research and trying to learn.
I'd like to interject.
The elevator pitch,
Yeah,
right?
that's
If
why
they're
you
not
need-
going to,
yeah.
So you need the marketing aspect.
Where's that term?
I'd like,
Elevator pitch. But
Yeah, I
I'd like
know.
to say one thing is I agree, because I live in this area where this is all affecting, and we flooded the creek and it comes up. But what I don't think, I mean, the city didn't plant those trees. Well, they may have planted those trees a long time ago, but I don't think that they took into account the number of hurricanes that were going to come through, the number of damaged trees that we were going to have. And I can tell you for a fact, having trees that have fallen into my house that were city trees, that we don't have the manpower on the tree, with our tree people to be able to take care of what they have to take care of. And they're still taking care of stuff from Florence. So it's hard to keep up with what has to be done around here. And I will give Aaron his due when it comes to that, that they're trying very hard, that a lot of this is, in my neighborhood, is Florence issues, that trees that have not been taken care of or have not been able to come down yet, that they're still trying to get out. But I think, it all goes back to education. And I agree that these trees are soaking up as much as they can. But, when you stick your hand down the center of a laurel oak and it's dead and all you pull out is the nice little water bugs that are having a fun hey time living in those, it's education. And, when you speak to my neighborhood, you've got half that want to keep the trees that really don't want to see them go. And then the other half that have had a tree fall in their house. That they're like, we might be behind the 8 ball, but we've got to start somewhere. And I think that this is where we have to start. And, it's up to us and it's up to the city to come up with a better plan of how we move forward, knowing that these are going to be issues.
So it sounds like we definitely need some sort of positive marketing towards replanting, right? Like that's what everyone said is let's do something like that. You guys have anything prepared for that? Yeah. What's the plan for like getting that out?
Well, I think she's gonna communicate that to us.
Oh, okay.
So,
Jumping in.
Yeah, no, I can work with our forestry team and with planning and marketing and, very valid points. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Feedback very much. Thank you.
Tom, if I could get there quickly, unfortunately, I'm not really pretty soon. But I wanted to give kind of parting words as my last one here, and I think it's incredibly relevant. What's going on here is some overall themes, and Jim hits the education rate every time. That's got to be the top thing. So it's 6 years on this committee. I haven't been as physically in these meetings, more on Zoom in the last 2 weeks, which is little kids and another business, but I can bring a little bit of perspective beyond just education. Education is, I believe I'm the only developer in this room in developing the satellite speech brewery. And this committee was kind enough to give me an award for preserving the trees on that. But we can sit around and beat up Sally and Aaron and everybody all we want here, but we've got to have more staff. And my strong recommendation to this committee and the Alliance as well would be to potentially start 2 things. One, a grant funded position with the city, which is hard, but it's not outside of their own possibilities. Do a very targeted fundraiser, say this is the city liaison, they're a city official, and they're gonna be a liaison to developers in the city for all of these things we talked about. Because they're just so terribly understaffed all the time. But the second thing there is get very pointed on election cycles. And a check of approval, an endorsement of candidates, and you get them on pen and paper. I promise I'm a candidate for the trees. Because what's happening right now over at Autumn Hall and Edwards Bradley Creek is just appalling. And on one side, you got candidates, they're gonna say, I'm for this, I'm for that, but that almost pushed right through without really any thought or anything. Luckily, there's enough people that were outraged by it in that neighborhood. And then the other big thing that I see as the developer is there's no accountability there. There's rules in place, but 9 times out of 10, it's a self-submitted survey of trees because the city doesn't have a staff to go over to Autumn Hall and count trees that are 4 inches or greater at breast diameter height. And so you can submit pure BS. I actually paid money, had a survey done on my little 1.5 acre site. But a lot of times that's skipped because it's not mandatory. Or it's 20 years old. So imagine the number of trees that have grown in that time frame. And so if we don't have somebody backing up Sally, backing up Aaron to go out and do this, developers are going to get away with murder. The number of massive pine trees, they all want to hug the live oaks, but pine trees suck up a lot of water too.
That's
The whole reason I'm here.
it's very.
And it's not just developers that they don't regulate, it's Duke Energy. Duke Energy
No, they're
is
the worst.
just
And Aaron is such a tight.
spreading every country they can get now
But-
without any
Yeah,
remorse.
there's got to be more accountability. There's got to be better tree surveys. It doesn't have to be, this committee going around hand counting city trees. Because if you look at that USDA map we just looked at, I guarantee you, the overwhelming majority of that was private development. It wasn't the city cutting trees. Yes, maybe that, you know,
The
5 to
other
10
part of that are the easements that are from 1950 or from 1970, when it was all considered wetland before these developments. And then they carry them over without any thought that there would ever be a homeowner in these developments that they're just gonna shred down.
So it's valuable.
You hit the nail on the head with there's no accountability.
That would be my strong recommendation on my parting words here. He's done 3 times as much as I have in the last 6 years, so he can have my help. I'm sorry, I have to cut all our other. Thanks for everything that all of you guys do to me.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Y'all
it.
know if you need help fundraiser, whatever, I'm still here for you.
All right, we'll reach out to you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Judge.
I would suggest we move to the next point to be
Yeah.
about 30 minutes left.
I know. Next point. Thank you, Haley. So the next point on the agenda is community education, and Andrew, you were working with Dan and Kate and a few other people on that. Any updates or?
Yeah, I mean, I think the list that we want to put out is still being finalized, by Kate. So I'm not sure, where she's at with that, but, there have been a couple of starting articles they were in March, so it's been an appropriate amount of time to kind of circle back. There was one article, plant list showing native tree in Wilmington for unique wildlife friendly landscape that the NC State Extension put out. And then another one that said, Governor Cooper, Senator Rayvon want to use the next state landscaping projects, why, and it talks through what that means. So, I mean, and those were within the same week that they published those two, so that makes me think that it's starting to get, is there others like them are friendly to this kind of publication, and so as soon as we have our list of what we want to put out, happy to write that and get in touch with these folks and try to get that out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just community education along those lines, which I'm gonna go into some business, but you know, one thing as, you know, I'm sitting back here and I was just sort of light bulb went on in my head and said, okay, how many on the Wilmington Tree Commission know what a live oak is or what a pine is? Right. What's the difference between a live oak, a laurel oak? What's the difference between a loblolly pine and a longleaf pine? So what I'm thinking is, you know, maybe what we should do along educational lines is at least start, you know, providing information to the commission about trees. So, you know, and tree identification, just the top, you know, 5, 8 trees that are in this area that, you know, people will go up to you and say, oh, you're part of the Wilmington Tree Commission, what type of tree is this? It's like, oh, well. So that was something that just popped into my head, when a light sort of went on and just said, you know, it's.
The knowledge too, or having gardens.
Well, not only that, but also just having some sort of documentation and so that you have it saying, okay, here's a picture of you know, live oak, here's a picture of a laurel oak, here's what the leaf looks like and that sort of thing, just so that I tend to be a visual person, so that's something that I like to see, so.
Perhaps Lon could ask Dr. Kenny's at the biology department, but at UNCW, I mean, they're a great resource that Dr. Kenny's is who educated me on the difference of all of them and the best
Yeah,
things for me to.
Darren would be a good person to ask to see if he's willing to do that, because there's a tremendous amount of public stuff available, it's just a matter of pulling it together.
Yeah, so I know the extension service also has it too, I mean,
Yeah.
they have a lot of information. So I guess what I'll do is I'll
One
go.
has passion, one doesn't.
Right. So, yeah. So I'll talk to Darren and I'll talk to see what we can do. But yeah, just so that we can educate, you know, our commission here. You know, we are the tree commission and just having knowledge about trees will be very helpful, so. Let's see, next item on the agenda is Dan, you're up.
Okay, our big efforts in recent weeks have been focused on getting the tree stewards up and running. So I think I've talked about this previously. We planted 225 trees this past planting season. We've broken those up into 6 zones, approximately 30 to 50 people, and 30 to 50 trees. And with 2 people on the team addressing each of those zones. And Tom and I went out as one of those teams on Monday morning. The first time the stewards had taken the truck out as part of our rotation. And so we learned a lot of things. We're focusing right now on mainly hydration. And so we're going out and augmenting the mulch that we have around the trees. We do that with the Saturday. We've had a number of Saturday sessions recently where it's the tree stewards and just volunteers. We go out on a Saturday morning, like at 8 or 9 o'clock. We go down to the mulch pile, get a bunch of mulch, and we're focused on forming watering bowls around the trees just to sort of contain the water. One of the things we've also been finding is that there's a number of trees with weed whacker damage. And so when we're forming these watering bowls and freeing the flare, we're also pulling back or pulling up any grass or weeds that are near the trunk of the tree so that there's no temptation or no need to really weed whack them that closely. So, we're working through that. We are super grateful to the city for the truck that they provide to us and the water they provide for us and the fuel that they provide to us. We're just hoping to make a few adjustments that will make it easier for our tree stewards who are often retirees to operate the truck. So right now we have a gas pump that sometimes can be a little bit difficult to start. You kind of have to lean over the truck a little bit. I'm working with Aaron to get an electric pump that I think will be much easier to use, at the Alliance's expense. And so that's what's going on with tree stewards. It's also grant writing season, so I'm knee deep in writing a lot of grants. And I think that's just about it. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope. Thanks, Dan.
Sure.
All right, so new business. On new business, we have talked about tree identification, tree awards. One thing we wanted to talk about previously was tags on trees, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and send out what I'll send out is links to tags that we feel would be appropriate for trees, and then see whether or not we want to invest in it so that we can put it on each of the heritage trees that we want. So I'll go ahead and pull that together.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, that was also last time we had the question about restarting the tree awards program. And wanting to recognize businesses.
Yeah.
But need to check with legal. I was told that is okay as long as we set a very clear criteria as to why they're being recognized.
Okay. So we can recognize businesses, but we have to have criteria.
Yeah. Before we do that, set up very clear criteria we can check off that they're doing.
Okay, so we need someone to work on criteria, or do we already have criteria?
I can look and see what criteria we use.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and pull up.
Categories of criteria.
Yeah, we've got just a very general description.
Yeah.
But probably improving the list of specific criteria. Yeah.
Yeah, if we can have the list to start off on, then anybody who wants to work on that would be great. So I'll forward that off, or Haley can forward it off to everybody and say, hey, let's have your input. And then the next item on the agenda was tree canopy, which we talked about. Thank you, Sally. And then the next item is guest speakers. I know that I was approached by Hannah Bell out of UNCW, and she's the outreach coordinator for the science area. She said she'd be more than happy to do a presentation here. So what I'd like to do is see if we can schedule that, and then also, what Darren, potentially have Darren come in and speak to us would also be a good idea, so. I'll see what I can do to try to coordinate, that type of information session and, get them in to, just help provide education for us and further understand. Then the next item is marketing materials. Haley, one of the marketing materials we had was a trifold. And, have you had an opportunity to work on one? Or-
Yeah, I made some very basic changes.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, so that was also on our to-do list as far as.
Send us a PDF of this, okay.
So some basic change, we had a trifold and then we also talked about a banner. So, we'd like to, rather than, if we're gonna go to be present at Earth Day or some of the, the native plant festivals and that sort of thing, we don't have a table banner. We have sort of a cardboard thing that's just in half. So, what we're gonna do is invest in a banner. Kathy, do you want to help with that, or is that something?
Just, are you just wanting like a flag banner, or do you want a banner that we hang up behind something?
Yeah, hang up behind something or, put it on a table, so that you could have it in front. So it's just a table banner to say, Wilmington Tree Commission. So that we can, show what we have.
Yeah, I can help with that if somebody will, provide what you would like to put on it.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yep,
If you just have some ideas and then I can go from there.
gotcha. All right. I will do that. And then the other thing is talking about being present at some farmers markets or other types of things. And I don't know if, maybe going there once a month just to tell people that talk about who the Wilmington Tree Commission is, just to get more, just get out there to better educate the public. So I'm not saying we do it every farmer's market, but every week, maybe we go out once a month and just, man a table at a farmer's market, and then we rotate farmer's markets throughout the year. Just so that people, to create awareness and understanding of who we are, what we're trying to do. So just thoughts on that. Would like to, if someone could help with that, that'd be great. Matthew said that he had an in with Tidal Creek, so I'll reach out to Matthew to see if he has any. But again, we also need some of our marketing materials to hand stuff out, so we don't want to get the cart before the horse. So, and then I think that's about it. Haley, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. And just with the marketing materials, we will not be able to purchase anything until like mid-July.
Right. Oh, and then
Our
the
new
other,
budget's not going into effect yet.
yeah, we have to, anything that we buy will have to be in next fiscal year, which is August. So the other thing is the Wilmington Tree Commission doesn't meet in July. So our next meeting will be in August, so that if you have any. So we have a couple months to work on projects and see if we can, put things together to really start, the next fiscal year on getting some projects completed, and then also trying to expand our marketing on that. So. Okay.
Just do some like work on like other events too. I assume we need them to donate food space, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, other than that,
Hey, Tom,
yes,
can I add a quick addendum to my report?
sure.
It'll just take a second. I forgot to address some administrative changes that we've had. One is that Allison Child, who is our administrative coordinator, resigned. So many of you have worked with her in the past. She was great, but she is moving on to bigger and better things. And we also had our new board elections at our June meeting just last week. And Margie Herring is going to be our new president. And Connie will remain on the board as past president, and I'm sure will remain very active. And so we've had some changes at the ACFT.
Great.
That's all.
Fantastic. And then the other thing is we do have cupcakes and drinks to honor both Judd and Jim for their participation within the Wilmington Tree Commission. You know, we can send you the cupcakes visually, but that's about it. And then we also have drinks, which you can also see visually too, but so, but no, thank you all. And like I said, the next meeting will be in August.
You keep me on the mailing list, please.
And August, do you remember the date? Is it August?
August 21st.
August 21st? And same time, it might be a different room or might be the same room, I don't know.
I will.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
right here on the first floor. I
It's on the
promise.
first floor here in the Skyline Center building, so that's the old PPD building, so. But other than that, and as far as our public guests, do you have anything? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm particularly interested in the ginkgos at 15th and Market Streets and that they remain outside of the tree cutting effort down Market. And I'm trying to find a contact that can tell me yes or no.
Sally, you can work with Sally and Aaron on that.
Okay.
So I think Sally gave you her contact information, so contact Sally and she'll be able to help you with that. And then any questions? Thank you for joining us both. Yes. And anybody else have anything? All right. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you very much. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks to you.